What's good, everybody? This had to come on tonight. Let me turn this volume down. Had to come on here tonight because shit's just crazy. I'm curious as to why. Hold on one second. All right, here we go. All right, anyway, I'm curious as to why the news isn't reporting the protests that are going on all across the country. Have to go online to see any of that. I'm also curious as to why they're not reporting on this war that Donald Trump has gotten us into in Yemen. And I know our forces have been in the area forever. But just a few days ago, U.S. forces started launching major airstrikes against Houthi rebels in Yemen. And if you think this isn't going to escalate and expand into something bigger, then, my friends, you are sadly mistaken. But hopefully, you're not that slow. Coming from the monarch, because he's not a president, who ran on getting America out of these foreign conflicts and not getting involved in wars and shit like that, he launches airstrikes against possibly the number one Iranian proxy in the Middle East. And don't get it twisted. The Houthis are no slouches. They're not a small group of flip-flop wearing, tent living fighters in the desert here. They are very well armed. All things considered, obviously they don't have the firepower that the U.S. has. However, it doesn't take major firepower to do major damage to a large professional force such as ours. It really doesn't take a lot. Even the United States forces has trouble with, smaller, well-organized forces, guerrilla forces, and things of that nature. And don't get me wrong, we are the most lethal military force in the history of the world. However, we can get punched in the fucking nose too. But in any case, Trump has us involved in some bullshit that's probably definitely going to lead to something that we really don't want to be involved in. Especially now, too, that if need be, we're probably not going to have any allied support because Trump has burnt those bridges. We basically have really no friends in the world. And trust me, Putin's not going to come help us out if we need it. So y'all can forget about that for those of you that support that notion. What else is going on? He's defying federal judges regarding this immigration bullshit that he has going on. And today, he officially signed an executive order to shut down the Department of Education, which he has no authority to do. However, again, Trump basically says he don't give a fuck what the courts say. He's just going to do what he wants to do. And because that's what his people want, and and which it really isn't, because the people that support him don't know what the fuck they want. They are the worst idiots on the planet for supporting this guy. Um, and breaking news, I just heard that tomorrow, or later today, because it's after midnight, but later on today, Elon Musk is going to get access to U.S. military O plans for fighting a war against China. Let me explain to you what O plans are. Operational plans are probably the U.S. military's most top secret documents. They basically spell out how we plan to fight a war against any given adversary. But I heard that he's going to get access to the O plans for China. Now, let me explain to you how disturbing that is. First of all, you got to understand Elon Musk knows nothing at all about how our military operates, who our adversaries are around the world. He knows nothing about any of this stuff, intelligence operations, and things of that nature. He's unelected. He hasn't had any proper clearances given. He hasn't been vetted for anything. I mean, basically, Donald Trump just waved his hand and said, "You're cleared," which the president can do, unfortunately. He has that authority, but there's still a process for getting security clearances done, background checks, and all types of other investigations that need to be completed to ensure that the people getting access to these areas aren't foreign agents. Now, here's what's extremely problematic with Elon Musk getting access to O plans versus China. Tesla has a gigaplant in China. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like the biggest auto plant on the planet. Elon Musk has a lot of financial interests in China. So obviously, a war in China would be very detrimental to his bottom line. And if he knew what those operational plans were, would he pass those plans along to the Chinese government in order to prevent the United States from going to war in China? Could be. Would he pass those plans along in order to increase his bottom line in general? I think so. For those of you out here who think that Elon Musk isn't getting paid for any of his efforts via Doge and his cadre of spooks who are breaking into our agencies all across the country, you're a bigger dummy than I thought you were. Of course he's getting paid. No, he's not getting direct checks written to him. But he's getting paid via government contracts. He's getting paid through knocking off competitors and things of that nature. Having access to things that he shouldn't have access to gives him a great power over our politicians and our so-called leaders. in government, and they're just letting him. They're just letting this clown do whatever he wants to do. Unemployment's about to go sky high with all the federal workers that have lost their jobs. And if you think gas prices are high now, just wait a few weeks because they're going to start creeping up. Everything's going to start creeping up with these on again, off again, on again, off again, on again tariffs and the threats. The markets are going crazy right now. And I mean, for the average person, we think, well, fuck the stock market. It doesn't affect me directly, but it does. Whether you invest or not, it still affects you because the companies that are heavily invested in the markets are the companies that we utilize every day to provide many of the things that we want and desire and need on a daily basis. And if the market crashes and a lot of these companies go out of business, it will send the entire U.S. economy into a nosedive. And they're talking about possible recession. I'm thinking another Great Depression. And on a monumental scale. Listen, I don't mean to sound like an alarmist. I'm talking real talk. You should be concerned about what's happening. There's so many of you out there that say you just don't give a fuck. You don't care. And you're the main ones that are going to be crying when all this shit collapses because you're not going to know how to survive in that type of environment. You're just not. And you're going to be looking to people like me and my family who have spent years preparing, to and actually and at sometimes living, off grid, and learning, how to survive with all these modern amenities that you're so used to. So many Americans take life for granted because they think that it can't happen here. They think that it will never happen here. I actually had an old high school friend of mine tell me one time that they would never be homeless because he makes too much money. Come on, knock it off, bro. There are multi-millionaires, former multi-millionaires living on the streets right now as we speak. They made too much money, or so they thought. We have a crisis going on, and everybody needs to get up, all hands on deck, because when this shit breaks loose, it's gonna be bad. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. I have no doubt that it's going to get better. I don't think it's going to happen in the rest of my lifetime. I really don't. But we have to start fighting now. We have to be prepared now for what's to come. And I always like to be optimistic. I like to think that, things will work out, and the light will come shining through. I don't have that feeling now. I don't have an optimistic bone in my body right now. So I'm saying, hey, expect the worst. Prepare for the absolute worst because that's what's coming, y'all. That's what's coming. And you don't have to listen to me. I'm just saying pay attention. Wake up. Stay woke. Don't let these motherfuckers talk you into going back to sleep because you're not going to be able to sleep through what's coming. It's not something any of us are going to want to try to sleep through. So get yourselves ready, y'all. Get ready. Because this shit is about to get real stupid in this country. And yes, it can happen here because it is happening right before your very eyes. I know you can see, I know you can hear, and I know you can understand. So don't let yourself get caught out here. Start tightening up, talk to your family, your kids, your grandkids, aunties and uncles, round everybody up and start having them hard conversations about what may or may not happen. If it goes left, who you with, who you going to rescue, who you going to save, if you can save anybody. You know what I'm saying? What's gonna be the rally point? What's the plan? Do you have a plan? I got a plan. My family has a plan. So get yourselves ready, y'all, because shit's about to get real stupid. We're gonna have to do everything we can to hold on to this country and our way of life. I know a lot of you out there are disgruntled and you're like, hey, these politicians got us all fucked up. These preachers got us all fucked up. All of these so-called leaders got us all fucked up. Yeah, it's true. But you know what? We got us fucked up. Because we elected these politicians. We put our trust and faith into these pastors and preachers and bullshit. We, rested our laurels on the words of these so-called gurus, and we let them lead us right down the road to hell. And now we gotta fix it. But before we can fix it, we got to deal with the problem. We have to work the problem. All right, y'all. I'm tired. Obviously, this was an unscheduled broadcast, but, sometimes, and probably, we're going to have a lot of these moving forward. Probably a lot of y'all are going to start talking about this shit. Probably after it's too late, you're going to realize what's going on. And hey, I can't help you then. All I can say is mark my word. Get yourselves ready for what's to come. I'm your man, Ken Jackson. This is the Ken Jackson Experience. We'll see you Sunday night, 9 p.m. for our regular show. Peace. I'm out.